Good morning, all of you. Welcome to Ansarkari. So let's start with today's analysis video for 29th of April 2023. So first of all, we see कि finally Delhi police ने 2 FIR register कर ली है. We're talking about the wrestlers case. And कल हमने properly detail में discuss किया था कि what does the law says about FIRs in case of the cases like related to sexual offenses and sexual harassment. And then we also talked about cognizable offenses. So sexual harassment is a part of the cognizable offense. And we discussed every minute detail yesterday. So do go through yesterday's analysis video also. It is very, very important. So this follows Solicitor General's assurance in the Supreme Court, and then counsel flagged security concerns of the complainants. Apart from this, bench directs the police to file an affidavit by 5 May detailing the steps taken to protect the petitioners. So the protesters, they are seeking the arrest of the culprit, the person who's been alleged with sexual harassment. And so yeah, that's the update. Coming to India and China, so we should fix accountability on supporters of terrorism. This is what India's stand is in SEO. So when we talk about SEO, so members क्या हैं, ये चीजें हम बहुत बार repeat कर चुके हैं. So already वो जो basic चीजें वो हमें पता होनी चाहिए. So here our defense minister is calling upon the Shanghai Cooperation Organization member states to root out terrorism collectively and fix the accountability on its supporters. So very clearly he's been saying this and said that any kind of terrorist act or support to it is a major crime against humanity. So terrorism की often ये बात भी की जाती है कि आप terrorism को good terrorism and bad terrorism में categorize कर सकते हो, but that's not logical. उसके पीछे क्या rational है? Terrorism is terrorism. आप उसको good and bad में categorize कैसे करोगे? Good terrorism को आप क्या बोलोगे? कौन सा act is a good terrorism? एक positive term है, एक negative term है. So that's not logical and does not make sense. Moving forward, so here peace and prosperity cannot coexist with this menace. And apart from this, India has been a member of SEO since 2017. So India and Pakistan, they were made a member together in 2017. Apart from this, separately in a statement on bilateral talks between the Chinese defense minister, China said that the two countries share far more common interest than the differences, and the two sides should take a long-term view, place the border issue in an appropriate position in bilateral relations, and promote the transition of the border situation to normalized management. So आप देख सकते हो how they are using the words border situation को आप you need to transit to a normalized management. Okay, so if a nation shelters terrorists, it not only poses a threat to others, but for itself also. And radicalization of youth is a cause of concern, not only from the point of view of security, but it's also a major obstacle when we are talking about socio-economic progress of society. So this is another thing, radicalization of youth. So अगर SEO को और stronger बनाना है and it needs to be made much more credible international organization. So topmost priority should be the effectively, we need to effectively deal with terrorism. So that's the update. And SEO, India is going to host the SEO summit this year. So we are the chair of SEO as well, apart from G20. Operation Kaveri, daily हमें updates मिल रहे हैं जो basically, Operation Kaveri is for safely evacuating Indians from Sudan. So we have airlifted around 754 more people who were stranded there. So core sector's output, it has dipped to 5-month low of 3.6% in March. So you can also have a look at its trajectory as well. It has been declining to 5-month low of 3.6%. So earlier it was like reviving, but now it has again taken a downturn. So we need to know कि core sectors की जब बात करते हैं तो there are 8 core sectors. We need to be clear with what all forms part of the core sector of economy. So नाम ही core sector है, तो अगर वहां पे स्लो डाउन होगा तो और जो बाकी सेक्टर्स लिंक्ड है विद द कोर सेक्टर्स, तो वहां पे भी स्लो डाउन पॉसिबल होगा. तो इसलिए कोर सेक्टर में ग्रोथ होना इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट अगर हमें फ्यूचर में ग्रो करना है. इसके अलावा जो वेटेज है डिफरेंट सेक्टर्स का, वी नीड टू नो दैट एज वेल. एंड इंडेक्स ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल प्रोडक्शन में भी जो कोर सेक्टर्स का वेटेज है, वी नीड टू नो कि वो 50% से कम है कि 50% से ज्यादा है. एग्जैक्ट फिगर ना भी पता हो तो इतना आइडिया होना चाहिए. So last unfinished work of Raja Ravi Verma, it is going to be made public. So an unfinished painting by Raja Ravi Verma, who refined the Indian art traditions during the colonial times, will soon be in the public domain. So you can see that painting in this picture. It's the Parsi lady. It's being restored. And the painting is Parsi lady. Now it is owned by the Killamanur Palace Trust. It was the last painting, but it was unfinished. So he died in 1906 inside the चित्रशाला. जो चित्रशाला मतलब जहाँ पे you do your paintings, you make your paintings. So it's an artist studio at Killamanur Palace, leaving the painting unfinished. So now the palace का जो trust है, they have decided to unveil this painting along with another painting, which is the portrait of cricketer Tirunul Umma Amma Tampuratti. So this is another painting by him, so which has also not been displayed yet. So it's on the occasion of 175th birth anniversary of Raja Ravi Verma. And these are two paintings made by him, and he's been a very important artist of colonial times. So you can find out more about Raja Ravi Verma on Google. And basically, Parsi Lady, it had a lot of specialities as it provided glimpse into the Mumbai life of Ravi Verma and his association with people like filmmakers Dada Saheb Phalke as well. Coming to the editorial section, so here what do we have important for us today? So जो women reservation bill है, पता नहीं कब से pending चल रहा है. So it cannot wait any longer. And even though women, they have been breaking the glass ceiling of patriarchy in every sector, politics is the arena where women find it the most challenging to find space. So India may have achieved suffrage early, but women, they still face significant barriers to political participation की बात करें, they do not have the right to govern. So it is disheartening to witness कि when we turn 75, basically we complete 75 years of independence, Parliament, it lacks the substantial representation from even half the population. With women, they are just holding 14% of the seats in the Parliament. So it is time to acknowledge the systematic exclusion. Please mind the word systematic exclusion of women from politics and demand an action to create more equitable political landscape as far as obviously the equality between men and women is concerned, as far as the political fora is concerned. with this, we see that a regression after a promising start. So women, they played a crucial role in India's fight for independence by organizing demonstrations. They were leading the rallies and raising awareness. So definitely women personalities के बारे में, their contribution, the freedom struggle पता होना important है. There were numerous female representatives in the Constituent Assembly also. And just a decade ago, three of the India's largest states, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, and UP, they were in the spotlight for being led by women chief ministers. While Sushma Swaraj, she led the opposition in the Lok Sabha. We had Sonia Gandhi served as both president of the Congress Party and chairperson of the United Progressive Alliance. And India had its first woman president, Pratibha Patil, around the same time. So despite the presence of influential women in Indian politics, we have regressed since 1980s, and patriarchal backlash has resulted in the status of women in India being far from ideal. So this is one challenge, patriarchal backlash, and hence it will not be wrong to infer that the issue of political representation of women is a greater case as opposed to having the token representation. So right now, token representation, when we talk about the representation of women in Indian politics. So अगर हम बात करें पूरा पीछे से हिस्ट्री से ट्रेस करें about women reservation, how has been the journey, what were the ups and downs. So the discourse on women reservation in India, it originated from pre-independence era, जब several women organizations, they were demanding political representation for women. So women organizations कौन सी थी, you need to find out about them, and it can be traced back to 1955 की बात करें तो गवर्नमेंट ने कमेटी अपॉइंट की. It recommended that 10% of the seats in Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies, they should be reserved for women. 1955 की बात कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे. However, it was not until 1980s that the demand for women's reservations it gained momentum. So जो ये डिमांड थी 1980s में आके we saw कि थोड़ा सा मतलब people are getting much more aware and इस डिमांड को सब लोग रेज कर रहे हैं. सो नेशनल पर्सपेक्टिव प्लान फॉर वुमेन 1988 की बात करें तो इट रिकमेंडेड 30% द सीट्स इन ऑल द इलेक्टेड बॉडीज इट शुड बी रिजर्व्ड फॉर वुमेन. And this recommendation, it was again reiterated in the National Policy for the Empowerment of Women, which was adopted in 2001. 1993 में we saw कि Panchayati Raj, it was amended to reserve 33% of all the seats in the local government bodies for the women, which was a significant step towards women's political empowerment. So जब हम local governance की बात करते हैं, पंचायती राज institutions की बात करते हैं, तो वहाँ पे 33% reservation women के पास है. But यहाँ parliament में women representation की बात कर रहे हैं, तो the success of this reservation led to demands for similar reservation in other elected bodies also. And 1996 में सबसे पहली बार women reservation bill introduce किया गया था लोकसभा में. So bill was proposing reservation of 1/3 of the seats in the Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies for women. But it faced strong opposition from few political parties and basically it couldn't be passed in the parliament. Then 2010 May, the bill was approved in Rajya Sabha. So Sonia Gandhi, Sushma Swaraj, and Brinda Karat of CPIM, they posed for photographs outside the parliament, also smiling and holding their hands, indicating that this was a fight much bigger than the individual political affiliations. So Rajya Sabha में pass हो गया था 2010 में, but again it failed and basically it couldn't get passed in Lok Sabha. अगर हम global examples की बात करें about women representation या कितना share है of women reservation या representation in the political arena, so around the world, women leaders, they are outperforming their male counterparts. यहाँ आप equal share की भूल जाओ बात. We're talking कि women, they have been outperforming their male counterparts. So Scandinavian countries की बात करें, they have implemented several policies and governance structures. ऐसे हैं उन countries में कि they support gender equality and women's empowerment, which includes women representation in political and leadership positions also. And countries are also led by women. They have shown to have some of the best policies and governance practices. So यहाँ पे हम न्यूजीलैंड की भी बात कर सकते हैं. Then deep scars in Rwanda, Central African nation है from genocide. They are being healed by predominantly a leadership that comprises of women, and we are seeing कि वहाँ पे की social reforms भी किए जा रहे हैं. नॉर्वे की बात करें तो it implemented a quota system in 2003 that required 40% seats on the corporate boards to be occupied by women. So corporate boards may be 40% reservation goes to women. And it's time for the woman in India, which is the mother of democracy, to lead the nation. And Amrit Kal chal raha hai. So Baba Sahib Ambedkar was of the opinion कि progress of community can be measured by the degree of progress which women have achieved. अगर आपको society की progress ही measure करनी है तो आप बस इतना देख लो कि उस society में women ने कितना progress किया है, आपको idea हो जाएगा कि society कितनी progressive है. But he was like still far away from that benchmark. Sorry, not he. We are right now, we are still far away from this benchmark, which was proposed by like Baba Sahib Ambedkar, and equality cannot wait any longer, and the time for change is now. So women, they have been waiting for too long for the right to govern, and not just for themselves, but even for the greater common good. So women's leadership qualities, they are not hidden from anyone, and the denial of opportunity for the political representation represents grave injustice to women. So nation that still struggles to provide even the basic healthcare and education, which is necessary for the dignified life of the citizens, must now let even women take charge of the task of transforming India. So as India strives to become a Vishwa Guru, we must not overlook the pivotal role which women they can play in nation building and the development of India. So women reservation bill, it cannot wait any longer, and this bill must be passed. So you can see 1996 में इस bill को सबसे पहली बार introduce किया गया था, and now we are in 2023. आज तक bill pass नहीं हो पाया है. So हमने थोड़ा हिस्ट्री की पर्सपेक्टिव से भी बात करी. देन 1996 से क्या एवोल्यूशन हुआ, 1955 से हमने देखा कैसे एवोल्यूशन हुआ, ग्लोबल एग्जांपल्स देखे, एंड देन वी आल्सो टॉक्ड अबाउट बाबा साहेब अम्बेडकर्स आइडिया ऑफ measuring the measuring progression done by a society. And then we are seeing कि we are in Amrit Kal and we want to be Vishwa Guru. So that cannot happen without women taking the leadership roles. So यहाँ पे again this topic is a repetition जो tussle चल रही है between governor of different states and the state governments कि governor of a state, he or she is delaying giving assent to the bill और indefinitely delay किया जा रहा है क्योंकि इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन जो है इट इज नॉट मेंशनिंग मतलब कोई स्पेसिफिक टाइम पीरियड मेंशन नहीं है इन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन जिसके अंदर गवर्नर को अपनी असेंट देना मैंडेटरी होता है. तो इसलिए दे आर काइंड ऑफ मिसयूजिंग दिस पावर एंड दे थिंक कि इट इज देयर डिस्क्रिशनरी पावर, बट ऐसा भी नहीं है कि इट इज देयर डिस्क्रिशनरी पावर. सो हम ऑलरेडी आर्टिकल 200 के बारे में पहले बात कर चुके हैं एंड you can just go through this article once again. So article 163 has also been discussed before, so you can just go through it once and that will be sufficient. So Korean Peninsula की बात करें, we are seeing कि North Korea, how it has been like behaving, क्या इसका behavior रहा है regarding even the nuclear weapons. So negotiation is important, negotiation and not nuclear deterrence. That is the way to peace in the Korean Peninsula. So deterrence is not going to help us. Negotiation would help in restoring the peace and keeping the situation like maintaining status quo even in coming times. So 70th anniversary of US and South Korea's alliance. South Korean president not only like sang the American pie at the White House, but also sealed an important cooperation agreement with his American counterpart to protect the Korean Peninsula from a nuclear attack by the likes of North Korea. So under this new pact, it is labeled the Washington Declaration. US strategic assets, they will be deployed around the Korean Peninsula, and a joint nuclear consultative group. It will share tactical information, engage in joint training, and they will be coordinating military responses to any potentially hostile actions by North Korea. So basically, South Korea and USA, they have signed this agreement, and this is called Washington Declaration. So basically, you can just remember the name and what is the purpose behind it from the examination perspective. And apart from this, US के जो tactical nuclear weapons थे, which were stationed in South Korea, they were withdrawn from this region in 1991. And basically, situation even in the Taiwan Strait and the Korean Peninsula, it is turning much more uncertain because USA का role दोनों Korean Peninsula, Taiwan Strait में, it is trying to cooperate more, it is trying to increase its presence there. So which is basically irking both North Korea and China. So West has failed to pressure countries to isolate Russia. So all the attempts by the West to pressure friendly countries to isolate Russia, they have been failed. This is what is coming from the Russia's defense minister. And as he said, at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, defense ministers meet on Thursday कि Western world ने US ने कितनी भी कोशिश करी हो of isolating Russia because of the Ukraine war, but it has been failed in doing that. So North Atlantic Treaty Organization was willing to establish dominance in Asia Pacific region, due to which it was integrating groups like Quad की बात करें, AUKUS की बात करें, into military alliance. So basically जो main reason है behind this war, that is obviously expansion, and अगर specifically मैं बोलूँ eastern expansion of NATO, Eastern Europe में, and that's what is irking Russia, कि why it is moving closer towards countries which Russia borders. So from the perspective of security threat for Russia, this war was initiated by Russia. And उसके अलावा जो क्रूड ऑयल पे सैंक्शन लगाए गए थे, क्रूड ऑयल प्राइसेस पे कैप लगाई गई थी ऑफ $60 पर बैरल, दैट इज ऑल्सो फेल्ड, क्योंकि वी आर सीइंग कि जब से सैंक्शंस लगे हैं या जब से वॉर स्टार्ट हुआ है, जो रशिया का शेयर है इन क्रूड ऑयल एक्सपोर्ट्स वो इंक्रीज हुआ है डिस्पाइट दी सैंक्शंस. सो डेफिनेटली वी कैन से कि जो सैंक्शंस थे उन्होंने जो जिस पर्पस के लिए सैंक्शंस को लगाया गया था, that couldn't be met, and that's how basically even Russia is saying कि the Western world, it has failed to pressure the countries to isolate Russia. So IMD predicts more heat wave days for Eastern India in the month of May. So we'll have to deal with more number of heat waves, and then again there's also predictions regarding El Nino as well. So these are the predictions, and Supreme Court is saying you need to register FIRs against the hate speeches, even which are without plaints. So जहाँ पे complaint भी नहीं की जा रही है, even in those cases, it is important to register FIRs when it is the case of hate speeches. So court's order, it would apply to all those who indulge in hate speech, irrespective of their religion. And apart from this, the court even highlighted the penal provisions under which the hate speech offenders, they ought to be booked. So what does the law say about hate speeches is like section 153A hai, which is regarding prompting enmity between different groups on ground of religion. We have section 153B, 505, we have 295A. These are like all the sections of IPC जो hate speech से regarding deal करते हैं. So Supreme Court says कि we direct that states they shall ensure that as and when hate speech happens, it attracts offenses under all these respective sections of IPC. So suo motu action, it shall be taken to register cases even if no complaint is forthcoming. So offenders should be proceeded against under the law, and that's what is coming from Supreme Court regarding dealing with the cases related to hate speeches. कि अगर complaints भी नहीं file की जा रही है तो still FIRs होनी चाहिए. Suo motu states FIR करे regarding any incident related to hate speeches. And it also said that any hesitation on the part of the police officers to abide by the order would be viewed as contempt of the court. So यहाँ पे contempt of the court के बारे में भी चीजें important हो जाती हैं. So that's there. Moving forward, coming to the world page, here we see China, it sends 38 warplanes and 6 Navy vessels to areas near Taiwan. So basically, as I said, key tensions are growing even in Taiwan Strait region. So US का जो National Security Advisor, he says कि US wants to de-risk and not decouple from China. So there's a difference between them, de-risk and decouple. So heavy battle rages in Sudan despite the truce extension. So things are getting much more volatile and violent in Sudan. Coming to the business page, here we see that US consumer spending is flat in March. Core inflation is still stays strong in USA. So let's see आने वाले time में क्या policy rate को और increase किया जाएगा या नहीं, क्योंकि core inflation जो है, it is being said it still remains strong, and जो consumer spending है, that was flat in the month of March. So यहाँ पे भी लिखा है it may see that Federal Reserve raising the interest rates again next month. So government moves star rating system for water taps. So center, it is in the process of bringing in a star rating for water fixtures similar to the ratings of like electrical appliances के लिए we have the 5-star ratings. So water taps के लिए भी center is thinking about the same thing. And we are having the mission like Amrut 2.0 mission. So Amrut is the regarding the urban rejuvenation mission, and apart from this would be like basically based on the water efficiency, and their rating system would come under one umbrella. So they would be like given 3, 4, and 5-star ratings. So data shows like on an average over 30% of the water we can save it. However, there was not enough data available to assist the consumers in making the informed decisions जब बात आती है purchasing sanitary fixtures. So यहाँ पे एक quality standard होना is important. So for that, government is mulling for a star rating system. Picking up the Financial Express. So here AIFs, they grapple with the disclosures ahead of the SEBI deadline. So stricter non-compliance norms is what SEBI is pushing for. So rush to update the private placement memorandum is there. And PPM hai, it is a primary document in which all necessary information about an AIF is disclosed to prospective investors. So AIF is Alternative Investment Fund, and PPM में जो भी necessary information है that is available. So alternate investment funds, they are rushing to update their private placement memorandums, and the deadline is 30th of April. So this comes in the back of increased scrutiny by SEBI for non-filing of the reports and inadequate disclosures by these alternative investment funds. So here, so 2020 में SEBI ने mandated a standard template for all the PPMs in order to ensure कि minimum amount of disclosure होना चाहिए, and that would be through PPMs. So key sectors, they pertain to the investment objective, fund का क्या structure है, distribution waterfall, risk factors क्या है, legal regulatory considerations क्या है. तो ये सारे important sections हैं which needs to be disclosed regularly. So it also includes updates on the different share classes, issue side letters. So basically it is promoting much more transparency and accountability when we're talking about alternative investment funds. So that is the update from here. सो कोल गैसिफिकेशन की हम बात करें तो इसके पीछे जो टेक्निकल चीजें हैं, थोड़ी फैक्चुअल चीजें भी हैं, वो हमें बताना इम्पोर्टेंट है. सो क्लीन एनर्जी, वी आर पुशिंग फॉर दैट. सो कोल गैसिफिकेशन की हम बात कर रहे हैं तो सिन गैस की बात कर रहे हैं. तो सिन गैस, और इट इज कॉल्ड द गैसिफाइड कोल, is potentially a rich source of clean energy. So syngas में आपको composition पता होना चाहिए which all gas they form a part of syngas, and it allows diversification of the use of coal beyond the power and the steel sectors also. So basically syngas की और भी applications हैं, so that is also one of the advantages. And we are basically coming up with much greater investment as far as coal gasification is concerned. So brazen misuse of the tax norms would not be tolerated. This is what a finance minister says. So just shell firms, about 300 of them, they are found to be operating in about 50 square meter area with just one table and few chairs and getting tax refunds to the extent of even rupees 400 crores. So would you expect the department to just sit, wait and watch? So you can imagine कि tax refunds कितना जा रहा है, 400 crore rupees. And ये shell companies हैं. So I hope you're clear with the idea behind कि shell companies होती क्या हैं. Basically टैक्स इवेजन के लिए या फिर जो टैक्स लाइबिलिटी है उसको कम करने के लिए शेल कंपनीज बनाई जाती हैं. एक्चुअली वो कोई बिजनेस करती नहीं है, बट दे आर जस्ट फॉर दी नेम सेक कि एक कंपनी बना दी, छोटा सा ऑफिस खोल दिया एंड एक टेबल चेयर रख दी एंड यू आर लाइक देयर विद द कंपनी. सो दीज आर शेल कंपनीज एंड basically zero tolerance towards misuse of the tax norms is what the finance minister is saying. So it's only fair to give the RBI its terrain. So if all of you basically industry are happy with the latest monetary policy decision to pause, I can't speak differently. So that's what she is saying कि regarding question पूछा होगा कि inflation के ऊपर या tight monetary policy या कब तक मतलब रेपो रेट हाइक्स को रोका जाएगा या कब से उसको कम किया जाएगा. So she is saying कि if the industry is happy with what RBI is doing, so she can't speak differently. So tax terrorism एक दूसरा कीवर्ड यहाँ पे यूज किया गया है. So please note them down. So tax terrorism, it's an anathema, but the authorities, they won't remain mute spectators of the brazen misuse of tax provisions. And तो बेसिकली अभी ये देखा जा रहा है कि जो टैक्स नोटिस सेंड किए जा रहे हैं टू सेक्शंस ऑफ इंडस्ट्री एंड बिजनेसेस वो इंक्रीज हो रहे हैं. तो मिड इज दैट दिस इज वर्ड द फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर इज सेइंग रिगार्डिंग मिसयूज ऑफ द टैक्स नॉर्म्स या टैक्स टेररिज्म बोल लो आप इसको. सो दिस वुडंट बी टॉलरेटेड. So she said reversing the phasing out of the fiscally unsustainable old pension scheme would be extremely impossible, and dismiss the demands for such a policy change as the ploy of some political parties. So this was one thing. सो कोर सेक्टर के ग्रोथ में जो स्लो डाउन देखने को मिला है उसके बारे में हम बात कर चुके हैं। एंड जो बेसिक चीजें हैं, वेटेज की बात करें तो मैंने बोला था कि इंडेक्स ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल प्रोडक्शन में वेटेज पता होना चाहिए। यहाँ पे इट इज गिवन कोर सेक्टर का वेटेज इज 40%, सो बेसिकली लेस देन 50% है, इतना आइडिया आप रखोगे तो दैट वुड हेल्प यू इन द एग्जामिनेशन। इसके अलावा 8 कोर सेक्टर्स हैं, उसके बारे में पता होना चाहिए, मतलब बिल्कुल बेसिक चीजें हैं। And higher inflation, rising interest rates, and easing of the pent-up demand, they are also seen to be the factors, along with the increased economic uncertainty that have hit the domestic demand. So ये कुछ और concerns हैं। Inflation higher है, interest rate they are still rising, या अभी कम होना start नहीं हुआ है। जो pent-up demand थी वो भी कम होती हुई दिखाई दे रही है, so इसकी वजह से there are increased economic uncertainty. So domestic demand इसलिए थोड़ी slow down होती हुई दिखाई दे रही है, and RBI left the repo rate unchanged in its last policy review. So right now the repo rate is at 6.5%. So good subsidy की अगर हम बात करें तो अगर इंडिया wants it wants to meet its clean energy targets, then support to the electric vehicle makers would be needed for some more time. So Bajaj Auto के जो managing director है, he said in media interview this week that no industry could be built only on the back of subsidies, and that businesses, they must learn to survive without a crutch. So Bajaj also asserted that subsidies, they masked the reality, blunted innovation, and disrupted these strategies. So these are basically negatives of providing subsidies. And the merit of his argument notwithstanding, one should consider key the ground realities as far as the electric vehicle industry is concerned. So obviously, ground realities, to take them into account is very important to stay practical and really be on the right path. So difference in the price of an electric vehicle and an internal combustion engine जो अभी हम use करते हैं is so large that it would be hard to persuade the buyers to pick up electric vehicles unless the cost is subsidized. क्योंकि यहाँ पे कॉस्ट की बात की जा रही है, जो इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल की कॉस्ट है एंड जो कन्वेंशनल व्हीकल्स है इंटरनल कंबस्शन इंजन के ऊपर बेस्ड हैं, उनमें जो कॉस्ट डिफरेंस है वो बहुत ज्यादा है। तो आप कैसे कंज्यूमर्स को अट्रैक्ट करोगे टुवर्ड्स बाइंग इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स, दैट्स अ बिग क्वेश्चन। सो इस केस में ये सजेस्ट किया जा रहा है कि कॉस्ट को सब्सिडाइज करना वुड बी वन ऑफ द सॉल्यूशंस। एंड इसके अलावा चार्जिंग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर जो है वो भी इनएडिक्वेट है, तो व्हाई वुड कंज्यूमर्स गो फॉर इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स। एंड इसके अलावा the government may be justifiably upset about the alleged misuse of the incentives by some manufacturers. It must continue to subsidize the electric vehicles for some more time. So ये बोला जा रहा है कि जो subsidies manufacturers को दी जा रही, कुछ ऐसे instances देखने को मिले हैं जहाँ पे these subsidies they are being misused, but at the same time, this is also being suggested that we need to continue for a much more time as far as the subsidies for electric vehicles is concerned. So the extent of the subsidy, it can be brought down gradually. Gradually, we need to bring it down, not like in one go we say we will not be provided with subsidies anymore. So gradually, we need to bring down the subsidies which is provided to the manufacturers of the electric vehicles. And as and when like the electric vehicle ecosystem, it evolves with time and the production of batteries and other components that picks up locally. So अभी बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो करनी बाकी है as far as the electric vehicles industry is concerned, क्योंकि खाली आप electric vehicle बना के खड़ा कर दोगे, that is not going to help. So over time, localization would help lower the cost of production also, and even as charging infrastructure gets built. So दो में चीजें यही हैं कि कॉस्ट कम हो जाए इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स की, एंड वी हैव एडिक्वेट अमाउंट ऑफ चार्जिंग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. सो ये मेन चीजें हैं. And then we also have this FAME 2 scheme. So this is again for the electric vehicles only. So that should be useful for players to strengthen their manufacturing capacities and incentivize the buyers. So at the end of the day, if India is to meet its clean energy targets, some financial support to electric vehicle makers would be needed. So government must ensure कि subsidies हैं, they are not misused, and also that जो manufacture है of batteries and components वो हम locally ज़्यादा करें, उसको ज़्यादा indigenize करें, उतना ज़्यादा हमारी electric vehicle industry के लिए फायदेमंद रहेगा. सो ऑगमेंटेड रियलिटी की बात करें, इस पर ऑलरेडी प्रीलिम्स में क्वेश्चन आ चुका है. ऑगमेंटेड रियलिटी, वर्चुअल रियलिटी, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस में मैं अगेन एम्फसाइज कर रही हूँ एवरीडे बेसिस पे. जनरेटिव आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस क्या होता है, या और डिफरेंट फॉर्म्स ऑफ ओपन एआई क्या होता है, इनमें डिफरेंस पता होना इंपॉर्टेंट है. So our forex kitty, it shrinks $2.16 billion and right now it is at $584 billion. So हमें पता मतलब ये पता होना चाहिए कि किन reasons की वजह से forex reserves इंडिया में कम हो सकते हैं. So वो हमारे लिए examination perspective से important है. Coming to Indian Express, so here we'll be only looking at things which are not repetitive. So Vinesh outrage prompts stars to lend their voice and pained, and they hope for justice. This is what people who are like coming out for support for the wrestlers they are saying. So Vinesh Phogat, she said ki cricketers, why are they silent and why nobody else is supporting them. So after that we saw the Olympic champion Neeraj Chopra, he tweeted, and some of the top sports persons they also lend their support to the wrestlers protesting against the Wrestling Federation of India's chief Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. So Man Ki Baat is going to complete 100 episodes, so it will be like Gandhi Darshan. And apart from that, people of India, they have made Man Ki Baat an invaluable platform. So all of this is there. So celebration a great milestone and public discussion. 100th episodes are going to be completed. So regarding this, Ministry of Culture, it is organizing various programs at 13 historical monuments. So हमारे लिए ये monuments important हो जाते हैं, and 13 monuments आप picture में देख सकते हो. रेड फोर्ट है, प्रधानमंत्री संग्रहालय न्यू दिल्ली में, ग्वालियर फोर्ट, we have Golconda Fort, Vellore Fort, Fort and Palace Complex, Navratangad Jharkhand में, then Ramnagar Palace Jammu, then here we has the Rangghar in Assam, Chittorgarh Fort Rajasthan Residency Lucknow, Modhera Sun Temple Gujarat, Sun Temple Konark, Gateway of India Mumbai. So इससे related जो भी important factual information है, that is important for us. सो मेकिंग इंडिया पैंडेमिक प्रूफ कि अगर हम बात करें तो हमें इसमें क्या क्या करने की जरूरत है। तो अप्रोच ऐसी होनी चाहिए दैट रिकॉग्नाइजेस लिंक्स बिटवीन human health and ecosystem, so that would be much more critical. Linkage between human health and changing ecosystems, so basically adaptation बोल सकते हैं हम. So the rise of new pathogens, it has highlighted the importance of genomic surveillance. And during the pandemic, India was able to create a short time, a formidable network of institutions that can identify new pathogens. So this can now be complemented with wider testing of wastewater and samples from incoming ships and aircrafts also. So बेसिकली इंडिया को पैंडेमिक प्रूफ बनाने के लिए बात की जा रही है इस आर्टिकल में. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस, सो वर्ल्ड बैंक ने भी और सपोर्ट किया है to the health sector by amount like $3.5 billion. So we are also working with PM Abhim to build institutions and systems for preventing and responding to future pandemics. Then we're also helping improve the provisions of primary healthcare by supporting the Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Centers under the National Health Mission at the center and in 7 states. So success of India's efforts, it will be critical, for it is no longer a matter of if there is another pandemic, but when. So that's the thing. And so here talking about social justice politics. So it's essential to tackle caste discrimination की बात करें या majoritarianism की हम बात करें. The dominant understanding of caste in India, it has been focused on the idea of caste as a cultural phenomenon. So politics that demands caste and broader social justice is, it is derisively described as identity politics. So different ideas that you can just, go through them. So again, refugee crisis because of the war in Sudan. And जो nearby sites हैं, we need to know and remember their name. उसके अलावा जो refugees से related conventions हैं, whether India is a signatory or not, all of that becomes important. So कल के न्यूज़पेपर में हमने बात करी थी threats because of the rising sea level. It was a report. And यहाँ पे भी earth in hot water, so worries over sudden ocean warming spikes. So ये एक एस्पेक्ट है जो हमने कल बात करी थी इस पे. बाकी कॉम्प्रिहेंसिवली कल हमने इस टॉपिक को डिस्कस किया है. So coming to very important topic कि how India spends on health. Very important, इसको बहुत बार मतलब ये टॉपिक हमेशा न्यूज में ही रहता है कि कितना इंडिया का परसेंटेज ऑफ जीडीपी है, हाउ मच यू आर स्पेंडिंग, क्या टारगेट लेवल है, इतना लो क्यों है, एंड आउट ऑफ पॉकेट एक्सपेंडिचर बात की जाती है. सो ओवर द लास्ट सेवरल इयर्स वी सीन की स्पेंडिंग ऑन प्राइवेट हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस, इट हैज बीन इंक्रीजिंग. Share of people's out of pocket expenditure, it is declining, yeah, it is decreasing. This is as per the National Health Account Estimates data. So दो चीजें हमें पता चल गई, जो स्पेंडिंग प्राइवेट हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस पे वो इंक्रीज हो रही है, आउट ऑफ पॉकेट एक्सपेंडिचर फॉल हो रहा है. सो इफ वी गो बाय दिस डेटा प्रोफाइल ऑफ हेल्थ एक्सपेंडिचर, सो government healthcare spending as percentage of GDP, it is likely to increase further next year as COVID spends they are reflected. So indicators को अगर हम समझने की कोशिश करें क्या ट्रेंड रहा है from 2014-15 till 2019-20, so as a percentage of GDP कितना हम total spend करें in healthcare, initially 3 point like 9% था. So it was like around 3.9, 3.8 हुआ, 3.3 हुआ, fall होता गया. And basically we're seeing it has been falling. So 3.3% is the total spend as a percentage of GDP. So government का कितना spend as a percentage of the total GDP? उसकी हम बात करें तो वो बहुत लो है. तो we always talk about that it needs to go up. So 2014-15 में 1.13% था. So if we're talking about just government कितना spend करी as a percentage of GDP in the healthcare sector. So it was increasing, and बस 2018-19 में it declined. उसके बाद it is now at 1.35%. So marginally increase हो रहा है, इतना massive rate पे it is not increasing. Then talking about the out of pocket spending as a percentage of total spend, तो वो उसमें क्या changes आए हैं? Definitely उसमें बहुत fall देखने को मिला है. So पहले था 62%, then it was falling. So we can say कि gradual decline हुआ है. 47.1% is the share of out of pocket spending as a percentage of total healthcare spending. So government spend as a percentage of total social security. Sorry, government spend as a percentage of the total. So 29 से 41 increase हुआ है. Social security as a percentage of total 5.7% था, that is increased to 9.3. Private insurance spending कितनी है? 3.9% था, ये भी increase हुआ है. Current health spending as a percentage of total spending कितना है? 93.4 से लेके कम हुआ है till 90.5%. So this last one is a lower percentage indicates greater spending on the infrastructure, equipment, etc. that will last for years. And so current health spending as a percentage of the total spending 93.4% था, it has declined to 90.5%. So यहाँ पे it is mentioning कि lower percentage indicates कि there is greater spending on infrastructure and equipment that will last for years to come. So here we have this National Health Account estimates data, and we're seeing कि government expenditure on the health as a percentage of GDP, it has increased. Out of pocket spending by people, it is declined. And estimates are a snapshot of the India's expenditure on healthcare, जहाँ पे government, private sector, NGO, individuals are there. And main findings of the report अगर हम देखें तो number 1, government spending on healthcare increase हुई है, अभी हमने देखा. People they have been spending less from their pockets, जो कि हम यहाँ out of pocket health expenditure की बात कर रहे हैं. Third is government's total healthcare spending जो है, it was 55.9%, was primary care में maximum थी 55.9%, 29% secondary care, 6% tertiary में. And it's heartening to see that there has been a consistent and fast increase in government spending on primary healthcare. क्योंकि सबसे पहली चीज obviously primary healthcare आती है, तो it's important because it forms the basis for preventive healthcare. Fourth, government की जो social security expenditure है, जैसे हम insurance की बात करते हैं, it has increased, so that's another trend. So states कितना spend कर रहे हैं health sector में? So here we are seeing key states, they must increase their health spending and achieve the target which is set by the National Health Policy 2017, which says कि 8% of the state budgets should go towards healthcare. And right now, except for 1 or 2 states, target of 8%, it hasn't been achieved. So एक या दो states हैं जिन्होंने इस target को achieve किया, बाकी states they are not nearby yet. So कुछ states and UTs के यहाँ पे mention भी क्या क्या है, how much they are spending. So health being a state subject, much of the government spending, it comes from states. So there's a need for the center to provide more support to states that ask for it. So like example, Rajasthan is trying to implement the right to health bill also. So center should encourage such efforts and give them additional funds for it. So what's gum Arabic? Like why Sudan war could fit your fizzy drinks and the candy. So this is in the picture, that's how it looks. Gum arabic, it's seen on an acacia tree, which is there in Western Sudan. So 70% of the world's supply of gum arabic, for which there are few substitutes, it comes from the acacia tree in the Sahel region that runs through Africa's third largest country, which is being torn apart by fighting, which is Sudan. So अभी के लिए तो Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, these companies, they have long stockpile supplies, some keeping between 3 to 6 months worth to avoid being, caught short, and then obviously prices increase हो सकते हैं. So इनको basically they are key ingredients in everything, like fizzy drinks की बात करें, candy and cosmetics, they are important ingredients in these industries. So basically because of the war इनका supply पे impact हो सकता है. So यहाँ मलेरिया वैक्सीन की बात की जा रही है. So malaria, it has been one of the humanity's greatest scourges for millennia. Primarily, it has been killing babies and infants. So among the human infecting species of Plasmodium, P. vivax is geographically the most widespread in tropical and subtropical regions, while 95% of the cases of P. falciparum, they occur in the African region, and they are associated with severe disease and disease-associated mortalities. And इंडिया में फिर एफर्ट्स लिए गए हैं. हम बात करते हैं इंद्रधनुष मिशन की फॉर वैक्सीनेशन. So many focused initiatives like rollback malaria launched in 1998 thought it was to reduce the deaths for malaria by half, and a major eradication program launched किया गया 2015 में. It has resulted in significant reduction in malaria cases and deaths. But despite all these efforts, we are seeing disease still kills more than 4 lakh people each year. So WHO का guiding theme this year is time to deliver zero malaria, invest, innovate, implement. So we are in the week of World Malaria Day. It's observed every year on 25th of April. And there are reasons for hope in our quest to control and finally eradicate the disease. So breakthrough vaccines की बात करें, malaria parasite is extremely complex and elusive with a life cycle involving multiple stages. And definitely scientists के लिए this has been a challenge. So first malaria vaccine जो है, that is RTS-S, to be rolled out in high transmission African countries में. This is the world's first malaria vaccine and has been approved by WHO last year. So this vaccine is a result of collaborative efforts of several organizations around the world like GlaxoSmithKline, Walter Reed Army Institute of Research, PASS Malaria Vaccine Initiative, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Wellcome Trust. So all of them have been important players. Although RTS-S vaccine जो है, it has relatively low efficacy of 30 to 40%. So it was granted approval in view of the enormity of the task of malaria control. So vaccine, it has already been administered to over 1 million children in the pilot trial since 2019. And Hyderabad-based Bharat Biotech, it has been granted a license to manufacture this vaccine, so they can manufacture it. And under the agreement, GSK, it will provide the adjuvant, which is a key ingredient of this vaccine. So it will be provided. So एक और malaria vaccine है R21, which like RTS-S, it works against the liver stage of the parasite. It has recently created much excitement in the research circle. So R21, it has been developed by scientists at the Oxford University and formulated with proprietary adjuvant from Novavax, which is called Matrix M. So this adjuvant, it has also been used in the protein-based COVID-19 vaccine manufactured and marketed in India by Serum Institute of India. So research in India की बात करें तो it's essential to understand the dynamics of vaccine-induced immunity and pre-existing immunity during the disease. So controlled human malaria infection studies, they have the potential to fast track the initial assessments of vaccine efficacy kya hai, and also facilitate the first clinical evaluation of the vaccines involving the fewer adult subjects. So basic malaria research वो की जा रही है in many academic institutions in India, and scientists at International Center for the Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology New Delhi में जो है, they have successfully developed and produced 2 experimental recombinant blood stage malaria vaccines. So name of them is P. falciparum and P. Vivavax. So we're getting encouraging results from these 2 vaccines also. So आने वाले time में definitely things are going to take time. So vaccines against the infectious diseases, particularly those targeting young children, is a long drawn and complex endeavor as exemplified by the development of the RTSS and R21 malaria vaccines. So development of such vaccines, it will require collaboration of multiple stakeholders. Definitely all of that is required. It seems clear that current and future vaccines that need to be rolled out in lower and middle income countries will mostly be manufactured in India. So India ka role बहुत important होने वाला है, and the time is right for India to invest, integrate, and be the leader in finding solutions to combat deadly infectious diseases in the world. So as per the US official, India is at par with NATO nations for the technology trade. So ahead of India-US strategic trade dialogue, this is what comes from the US official. And United States treats India similarly to its NATO partners in sharing the cutting edge technology. Apart from this, India has established strategic trade ties and effectively implemented regulations, which has enabled US to share the technology with a country that it cannot share with others. And US is working with countries like India to ensure that Russia cannot illegally obtain items that the US and its allies have restricted under sanctions imposed following the invasion of Ukraine. And recently, we have this initiative on critical and emerging technologies with USA. So it's between India and US. And apart from this, India and USA, they decided to launch a strategic trade dialogue to address export controls, explore the ways of enhancing high technology commerce, and facilitate technology transfers. So for that, we are going to have this strategic trade dialogue. So USA के कुछ concerns regarding Russia is that they could use third countries to circumvent the sanctions to access critical technologies. So Russia is illegally using third countries to obtain items जो USA and 38 other economies they have restricted. So SEBI ने recently fine impose किया है and ban किया है 3 लोगों को from the stock market. So let's go into the detail. What are the reasons behind this ban? So 3 persons, Himanshu Patel, Raj Patel, both are brothers, and we have Jaydev Zala. They used to buy stocks of a particular company and then recommend other subscribers of the channel to buy those specific stocks. So पहले वो खुद खरीद लेते थे, उसके बाद जो उनका चैनल होगा उस पे they are telling the subscribers कि आप लोग भी उसी particular company के shares को buy करें. तो जब subscribers they used to purchase the recommended stocks, 3 perpetrators they would sell those stocks at higher prices and they would book these wrongful profits. So obviously ये मतलब बहुत common practice है stock market में कि लोग अपना group बना लेते हैं, पहले वो shares खरीद लेते हैं, and then when they have good social influence, social media पे influence है, subscribers बहुत ज्यादा है, तो वहाँ पे उन्हीं कंपनीज के शेयर्स को बाय करने के लिए वो रिकमेंड करते हैं. जब फॉलोइंग बहुत ज्यादा होती है, ऑब्वियसली लोग सुनते भी हैं क्योंकि उनको फ्री में एडवाइस मिल रही है, तो वो लोग उन्हीं कंपनीज के जब शेयर बाय करेंगे, ज्यादा लोग सेम टाइम पे बाय करेंगे, तो प्राइसेस जो शेयर के हैं वो इंक्रीज होंगे। और इन लोगों ने ये क्या करते हैं, पहले शेयर बाय कर लेते हैं, तो जब बहुत सारे लोग बाय करते हैं शेयर्स, प्राइसेस इंक्रीज हो जाते हैं, उस टाइम पे वो लोग सेल कर देते हैं। तो जो लोग बाय करते हैं शेयर्स को, उनका तो वो नुकसान हो गया। सो दिस इज द मेन रीजन वाई इनके ऊपर बैन भी लगाया गया है। एंड इनसाइडर ट्रेडिंग के बारे में आपको पता होना चाहिए, फ्रंट रनिंग के बारे में आपको पता होना चाहिए। की टर्म्स है जो न्यूज़पेपर में बहुत ज्यादा आई है, एंड दे कैन बी आस्क्ड इन द एग्जाम आल्सो। So that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us and keep supporting. And if you really like the analysis video, if you're getting help out of them, do subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. Thank you so much for joining us.